Stand down, please.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Murray Booth, and I served in the Australian Air Force from 1989 to 1995 with Support Command. On the morning of April the 25th, 1915, Australian and New Zealand troops landed under fire at Gallipoli in the violent campaign which followed that the Anzac tradition was forged. The elements of that tradition have inspired and offered an enduring example to later generations of Australians. We recall staunch friends and allies, and especially those of the first Anzac Day. On this day above all days, we recall those who did not return to receive the welcome of the nation. We remember those who still sleep where they were left, amid the holly and scrub in the valleys and on the ridges of Gallipoli, on the rocky and terraced hills of the Palestine, and in the cemeteries of France. We remember those who lie asleep in ground beneath the shimmering haze of the Libyan desert, at Bardia, Derna, Tobruk, and amid the mountain passes and olive groves of Greece and Crete, and the rugged snow-capped hills of Syria. We remember those who lie buried in the rank jungles of Malaya and Burma, in New Guinea and the distant isles of the Pacific. We remember those who lie buried amid loving friends in our motherland and our own far north. We remember those who lie in unknown resting places in almost every land, and those gallant men whose grave is the unending sea. Especially we do remember those who died as prisoners of war, remote from their homeland and from the comforting presence of their loved ones. We remember with sympathy those who, because of war, have had their lives shortened or handicapped. We think of those of our women's services who gave their lives in our own and foreign lands and at sea, and those who proved to be, in much more than name, the sisters of our fighting men. We recall too the staunch friends fought beside our men on the first Anzac Day, men of New Zealand who helped to create the name of Anzac. We recall all those who gave their lives in the British Army, the Royal Navy and the Royal Air Force, and fighters of the Netherlands and British and Allied forces. And we think of our men and women who fell when, for the second time in history, our nation and allies stood alone against the overwhelming might of an oppressor. We think of every man and woman who is those crucial hours died so that the lights of our freedom and humanity may continue to shine. We think of those gallant men who died in Korea, Malaya, Vietnam, Somalia and Afghanistan, assisting to defend the Commonwealth and other countries of the free world against the common enemy. We also remember those who served more recently in East Timor, Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia and the Solomon Islands, and those who served in peacekeeping operations. May they all rest proudly in the knowledge of their achievement, and may we and our successors in that heritage prove worthy of their sacrifice, lest we forget. I introduce you to Damien Griffin, RFD, member of the Australian Legion, to do our scripture reading.
Even as my Father has loved me, I also have loved you. Even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love, These things I have spoken unto you, that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be fulfilled. This is my commandment, that you love one another, even as I have loved you. Greater love has no man than this, than a man lay down his life for his friends. I'd now like to introduce our guest speaker, Sebastian Pruitt.
Good morning. My name is Sebastian Brewer. I'm in Year 10 at Elm Christian School. Standing at Officer Senator as Stellar Craigs is a rare honour that I get to achieve. And sharing this science is a powerful link to those who kept watching in the front lines, at sea, or here in Australia between 1915 and 1918. The years when Anzac joined the war. And to everyone who has stood guard since then. Today, I want to honour the legacy of my grandmother's family, the Gillans and the Dagarians. Their stories are sewn into the fabrics of Victoria's history. They originate from Warrnambool. After speaking with my grandmother, I found a family relative, Private John Leslie Gillan, my great-great-great-grandfather's brother. He had died in France just at 20 years old. His brother Lloyd was part of the volunteer defence corps in World War II, always ready for duty called. Their father John saw nearly 80 years of change, watching his family face war and loss with a stubborn kind of resilience. Then there's Private Harry Frederick Dago. He sailed from our own harbours with the 24th Battalion, headed for France, into the Yukon, and he died there in August 1980. These weren't names on plaques or dry facts in family trees. They were sons and brothers who stood up, shaped by responsibility, and made choices that would long echo after they were gone. This state of service doesn't end there. Another relative is my Uncle Tarquin, who had served in the Defence Corps for over 10 years during peacetime. He was always ready to go defend or go to war whenever required. This would have been tough. They remind me that the Anzac spirit isn't all about the noise of battle. It's about the quiet readiness, the steady promise to protect what matters. That idea of service made sense once I realised someone in my own family had not served not so long ago, and as a teenager now, it hits hard. Knowing that we still need to stand guard for our country to this day. The truth is, the freedoms I enjoy today to learn to speak my mind, to dream about the future were paid for young men not so much older than me. It's on us to carry forward what they stood for. Honouring the fallen isn't just about ceremonies or moments of silence. It's about living with ship, integrity and endurance every single day. So today, I stand grateful. Grateful for the courage of those before me, for the examples set by Uncle Tarquin, Private John Leslie Gillan, and Harry Frederick Buchanan, and for those who, for the chance to share their story. We keep their memory alive in how we live. I want to thank you all for coming here today to remember and commemorate those who have served us. I want to stand the ones who fought for what Australia stands for, lest we forget. I now hand over to the Olsen RSL Sub-Branch President, Robert Roy.
Let us now, each in his own way, offer a silent prayer in memory of fallen comrades.
Alrighty, okay, John.
They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget. Piper David Harris of the Burnie Highland Pipe Band will now play The Sands of Kuwait, a piece written by Lance Corporal Gordon Mackenzie of the 1st Battalion Queen's Own Highlanders.
Hooray! Stand up, please.
Thank you, Piper David Harris. That concludes the dawn service. Our next service will commence at 11:30 a.m. and this will be a wreath laying service. If you intend marching, you will need to form up at approximately 11 a.m. in Victoria Street. Anzac Day breakfast will be served at the Returned Servicemen's Club Bistro. Children under 6 years of age will be served free of charge. Please give preference to allow veterans to be served first. Please make way for the parade.
Could the public in the vicinity of the Shell service station please move aside so that those vehicles can exit to follow?
Right. Left. Turn. Right. Either right. Right wheel. Quick. March.